Bahrain 2025. This is one race we need after the Japanese Grand Prix Bourfest, and we come into this race now knowing the McLaren is beatable over a race distance. So, can McLaren hold their nerves and keep the Drivers' Championship lead? Will Mercedes perform on a hotter track? Can Yuki Tsunoda finally show the pace he has in that Red Bull? This is everything you need to know for the Bahrain Grand Prix 2025. So straight into the important news, and realistically there's only one or two things that is massively important heading into Bahrain, and one of the big ones is, well, Ferrari are bringing upgrades to Bahrain. Now, keep an eye out on the FIA website for exactly what those upgrades will entail. However, it's exciting for Ferrari. Maybe they can start getting their season kind of up and running because it's been a bit slow for them at the start. Again, though, I wouldn't be surprised if there was any other teams bringing upgrades. So the FIA will put this out around Friday time, all of the teams that are bringing upgrades. And I'd like to mention this now as no special liveries have been noted for Bahrain. Bear in mind it can change from Wednesday to Friday. I'd be very surprised if it did, because Bahrain's not really a race that we have special liveries, so most likely coming into this weekend it will be bog standard F1 racing, all in the normal colours. Now heading on to the stats for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and I always start with the most wins, and it's another name who is still on the grid, and that is Lewis Hamilton. He has won 5 Grand Prix at Bahrain. He loves it here. We've had some great dueling, especially with him and Rosberg, him and Verstappen. Yeah, we can't deny there's been some great battles around this track. But there is another name that came up quite a bit this season so far as well, and that's Fernando Alonso, who also has 3 wins here. Now, do I think Fernando Alonso is going to add to that tally? No. Do I even think he'll get top 10 finish? At the minute with where Aston Martin are? Probably not either. Yeah, I'm more excited for Lewis Hamilton. Let's get real. I don't think, again, it's more of a race win situation, but can Ferrari get their technically first podium in F1 around here? Because do we count sprint races? I think Ferrari fans would. I think everyone else sort of sees it as a grey area where it's like, do we really do anything about it? But yeah, on actual races, this would be Ferrari's first podium if they can get it, and do that for Ferrari. And I mean, hey, if he can't, his teammate Charles Leclerc has won here as well. So definitely coming into this weekend, they have, I mean, coming into every race weekend, they have the best driver pairing. But definitely for this circuit, those two look like really good contenders, at least for top 5 finishes, if Ferrari can just get those upgrades working well. Then for most pole positions here, we have a 3-way tie with 3 pole positions from Vettel, Hamilton and Verstappen. Again, Verstappen, never count him out from anything, even when times are tough. We saw exactly what he can do in Japan. However, I think if McLaren's are on it a little bit more, he's also got Russell, potentially the Ferraris to take care of as well. I think it could be a little bit harder for Verstappen to be on that podium this weekend. Then the constructor who has been the most successful here would be Ferrari. Again, I feel like I'm just feeding into Ferrari delusion for all of the fans here. Please don't expect a win. It's just one set of upgrades. Do not expect a win. I really don't think it's going to happen. However, I think at the minute a top 5's good for Ferrari fans. Hey, I think a podium you guys would be jumping for joy. Don't get your hopes up too high. The history here says it's Ferrari based. However, we know in 2025 it's completely different to past seasons. And then finally, overtakes wise, last season in 2024, we only had 36 overtakes. And that's because we sort of started to get a lot of DRS trains on the track. Made it quite hard to overtake. I'm really hoping there's more than 36 this weekend, as we did just come off, like I mentioned, that Bourfest Japan. Oh, it's not looking good for a second weekend. However, if it doesn't look good here, at least we know Jeddah will definitely be good racing. At least we'll have one good race in this whole triple header. Now, moving on to the important sessions for this race weekend. And again, it is not a sprint race weekend, so we will be having 3 practice sessions, 2 on Friday, 1 on the Saturday, with qualifying on the Saturday and the race on Sunday as well. Now, for anyone who does want to see some reserve drivers taking their spots in FP1, we will be seeing Vesti in the Mercedes, Browning in the Williams, and Dragovic in Aston Martin. So if that's what you want to see, if you're a fan of them, then go check out FP1. If you want to see the qualifying sims, that would be FP2. And if you want to see the race pace sims, that would most likely be FP3. So there's a thing for each practice session this weekend, which actually is quite nice. Pick and choose whichever one you want to do, but because it's a normal time over here for me in the UK, I will be definitely watching all of them. Yes! But with all of this jazz done, let's head over to the weatherman, Zach GP. Good morning, Bahrain. This is your weatherman, Zach GP, and at the minute, because the sun is facing me, I'm basically illuminating the sun, which is exactly what we're going to see all weekend long in Bahrain. So, hey, that's why I'm wearing this, 100%. It's definitely not just because of the lighting. But anyway, going into this weekend, we had chances of rain in Japan, and that did not happen. It just stuck in the morning. It's going to be the same in Bahrain, with highs all weekend long looking around 30 degrees, dropping to lows of around low 20s. So you're going to need some sunscreen and a hat, and hey, maybe you'll need a brolly as well if the sun is too hot. But there's definitely not going to be rain this weekend, so no using, no negative for all my F1 Fantasy fans. So we'll get some good old-fashioned dry F1 racing. That is all from me. Back to you in the studio. Thank you very much, weatherman. And now we head into one of my favourite sections of the video, where we have a quick rundown of Zach GP's top 5 things that happened in the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. Oh my god, there's just so many things to be excited about. My god, it probably took me about 30 minutes trying to figure out one thing, let alone 5 things this weekend. But coming in at number 5, we have, of course, Albon not very happy over the team radio. He's becoming a bit of a diva in that Williams team, and I'm loving it. My god, I hope we get some more sassy Albon coming into Bahrain, but it was one of the more interesting things of the race. That's how you know it was a pretty bad race, when one of the top 5 is team radio stuff. Number 4, Yuki Tsunoda gets driver of the day. Now, I'm not salty again. Home Grand Prix, Yuki Tsunoda, he was going to get driver of the day. What does annoy me a little bit is I will go onto the F1 comment sections, and a lot of people will be like, oh, he shouldn't have got it, and I get it. I completely agree as well. It should have probably been Verstappen who won driver of the day. The issue I have is, again, I'm going back to F1 Fantasy again. In F1 Fantasy, driver of the day gets you 10 points. In real life, it doesn't get you anything. So you get a lot of comments being like, it's not that serious, there's no points for it. And it's like, please, but it affects my F1 Fantasy team. Take it seriously, please. But hopefully they could just get rid of that or make it less. But Yuki Tsunoda getting driver of the day gets in number 4. Number 3, Norris decided to cut some grass on his way out of the pit stop. It was a very close pit stop battle between him and Verstappen. Red Bull had a little bit of a slow pit stop, allowing Norris to get almost side by side with Verstappen. However, it's Verstappen. He's going to keep his line, which he did, and he's allowed to. And Norris wasn't having any of it. It was going to happen, wasn't it? Norris and Verstappen back together again. Wasn't Verstappen's fault. Norris should have backed off. Number 2. And Hadjar started this weekend with 2 bulls. However, at the end of this weekend, he might have ended up with none, as he had a seatbelt malfunction in qualifying, meaning it was basically crushing him while he was driving the car, and then went on in the race to get 8th, his first points in F1. What a drive from Hadjar. Very well done to him. Hopefully he can still have kids. And then in at number 1, we of course have Max Verstappen winning the whole Grand Prix. I honestly thought even after qualifying he wouldn't be able to do it. Even at a track like Japan that was hard to overtake on, I thought surely the McLaren has a big enough deficit to Red Bull to get them. Well, Verstappen pulled off a masterclass and was just very much consistently better than the McLaren boys this weekend. Well done to Verstappen. The race ended Verstappen first, Norris second, Piastri third. Yeah, it was a bore fest, and for anyone who woke up early like me, yeah, it wasn't the best race to watch, was it? But anyway, let's now head over to the predictions, and this is definitely my favourite part of the video. Now, in last week's predictions, I don't think I did too bad. I got Norris second place, and a point for me, and Verstappen being in a podium position, which meant I didn't have to do my forfeit. Yes. But I will say, coming into this weekend, 2 out of 6 predictions right last weekend. Not too shabby, you know, it could have been 0 out of 6. Could be better though. My forfeit for this weekend, it's quite a crazy one because I've gotten away with quite a lot so far. McLaren 1-2. If there is not a McLaren 1-2, I have that like bike treadmill thingy where you just sit on it and you pedal it, and I will go on it for a whole race length. So that's around 90-ish minutes if we do not get a McLaren 1-2 in Bahrain. That is how adamant I am that McLaren will be better at Bahrain. We have a bit more data to go off. We had testing there, and that's when we sort of saw how alarming that McLaren pace was, and I think they'll be able to do it again. Now, for the rest of my predictions, top 3, I've gone for Norris, again, winning it, Piastri, and then, you know what, I've gone again with Charles Leclerc. I'm going to try this again. One last time believing in that Ferrari delusion until I give up on it and then just go Russell or Verstappen each time in 3rd place. But I'm going to give them one last chance. Please don't prove me wrong, Charles Leclerc. Then in last place, Stroll. What the hell was he doing in Japan? That was BS. He really was having a Sunday stroll. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Bortoletto again. Surely I have to get it at least once. But like, that is the clear cut. Sauber should have been last. And somehow there's always someone who underperforms worse than the Saubers. I don't know. Bring back Zhou so I can have these easy... But no, better, bring back Sargent so I can have these easy points. And then my surprise for this race weekend will be Yuki Tsunoda. I generally do think he had a lot more pace than he showed in Japan because it was just so hard to overtake. And I generally do think at a track that's a bit easier to overtake on like Bahrain, Yuki Tsunoda could potentially do better in qualifying. But in a race, I think he could get up to P8. And my God, what an achievement that would be. A Red Bull second seat actually scoring points. But anyway, those are my predictions for the race weekend coming into Bahrain. So finally, like always, let's head over to our Zach GP analyst, giving an overview of the circuit.
The Bahrain International Circuit debuted as a Formula One race in 2004, and with testing taking place here, the teams have a lot of data to work off. 3 DRS zones with 2 main overtaking straights with the start straight in after turn 3. Recent years have struggled with overtakes, but hopefully it can turn around this year.
Thank you very much, Bear, and that is all from me today. Of course, like always, keep an eye on the F1 website for any more news coming out throughout the week. Keep an eye on those FIA statements coming out about all of the upgrades that will be coming to Bahrain, because I doubt it will just be Ferrari. And hey, like always, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you enjoy this weekend of F1 racing. I'm hoping it's going to be a good race, but at least we've got another race after it if it's bad. So hey, I'll see you all later. Have a nice day, like and subscribe. See ya.